this same machine learning algorithm to do the same kind of training and prediction.
Exactly as you were saying, I was wondering if it would be almost the same as spam assessing.
Yeah. Okay. Give a round of applause for Boris. Thank you.
Really? I thought it's a present. Yeah.
No, we bought a drink for you as a present. So we can swap. So, for our next speaker, it also fits a bit in the security theme we had going this episode about hacking the Wi-Fi in the train. So, please give a round of applause for Hannes.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to my talk. I've never been to this part of Amsterdam, I have to admit, so maybe you can show me around a bit later.
This is a short tour. It will be very short.
There must be something. So my talk is called Wi-Fi in the Train, What Could Possibly Go Wrong? And just first a quick introduction. I'm a researcher. I work at the Centrum Wiskunde Informatica, which is the Dutch National Research Lab for Computer Science and Mathematics. I'm a postdoc there. That means I, at some point, did a PhD, in my case, in practical computer science. And what I do every day is data management for statistics. So I'm big with R and column stores and this sort of thing. But in this talk, we're going to have nothing about this. So one of my hobbies is radio things. I find it incredibly fascinating how bits are just flying through the air somehow. And I know how it works, you know, have all the physics is going on and everything. But I still am very fascinated by it. I don't know how many of you did this, but I started this career with underage war driving, where basically I had to get my mom drive me around so I could hack other people's Wi-Fi. But which she did, thankfully. Well, now I'm a postdoc, so it's okay. Later I did projects with GSM. I don't know if you know, but the GSM encryption is horribly broken, and with some hardware you can crack it. They could already crack it like 5 years ago. I'm doing some stuff with ADS-B, which is the tracking systems that airplanes use. I'm doing things with AIS, which is the same for boats. So all these things. Yeah? So this is just to give you the background of what kind of person was sitting at his kitchen table when he saw this. So you know, you click on the little Wi-Fi icon in your laptop, and then it lists you all the networks. And for some reason, it said Wi-Fi in the train. The only problem was I was not in the train. And most people would probably have ignored this. So this is where the whole Wi-Fi, the whole radio background comes in. Well, something about the locality where this happened. This is a aerial picture, so we can see some trains, and that's me. So this is where I live, and which is in Amsterdam. It's close to Central Station, and so you know, it's maybe 20 meters to the nearest train track or something like that. Here's another picture. This is how it looks like. This is the kitchen. So the question is, if I can see the network, can I see packets? I don't know if you're aware of how Wi-Fi works, but basically you have these beacons. They are thrown around all the time. If you can receive a beacon, it does not necessarily mean you can join this network. But then I thought, well, trains are built from metal, I've heard. And metal seems to be blocking signals. So do actually most windows. And also, trains tend to move. Well, let's hope. I think that's more relevant for you. And also phones like, you know, iPhones, they have crap Wi-Fi ranges. It's not, you know, they don't have big antennas. They can't really do a lot, but whatever, let's try anyway. So first, something about equipment. Does anybody know what this is? One, very good. That is the world famous Alpha AW US36H. It's ancient, but it is one of the, it's very cheap. It is a USB Wi-Fi adapter with a very powerful you know, amplifiers in it. It's cheap, like 20 euros, and it has very well-working Linux drivers, probably because of all the war drivers that are using it. And then, yeah, I don't know, there's these special Linux distributions. And then if you know anything about Wi-Fi, you've probably heard of this channel overlap which is happening. So here we have all the Wi-Fi channels from, you know, 1 to 14, which nobody uses. And the problem is that there is some overlap between the frequencies, which means that people can't use. It's a bad idea to have your corporate Wi-Fi on, say, 8 and 9 because you have tons of interference. So this is why you usually take something apart from each other. And the NS have been so nice, only using channels 1 and 11, which means that I just need 2 of these, and I should be good. On top of that, I've got one of these very cheap Nook boxes. It's like a small PC. It was like in the grab bin at the MediaMarkt, and it doesn't matter. Tried Raspberry Pis, which would have been cooler, but the drivers on ARM are not so good. Anyways, that was the hardware setup, something like 200 euros or something like that. So what kind of software do you need to listen to what might be going on there? Well, you have a tool called Airmon, and what it can do is can set this receiver, and many others actually, into something called promiscuous mode, and that sounds dirty, and it is dirty. Because what it means, it will mean that this Wi-Fi receiver will now receive anything. It doesn't have to connect to anything, it just receives. Oh, a packet, great, I'll hand this off to whatever, you know, software is reading my data. And then there's something called T-Shark, which is Wireshark for the command line. Wow. And then I have some hip Node.js GUI on top of it. And I have MongoDB. Anybody heard of MongoDB actually? Yay, let's talk later. So I'm actually part of the development team for MongoDB. So if you have any questions. And we have some R because I like R. And there's absolutely no magic. I like to stress this. There's absolutely no magic. This is the entirety of my great hacking script, what it does here is it tells the 2 things. Okay, now start, be promiscuous on channel 1 and 11, okay? And then you just tell the Wireshark here that it should start using these 2 devices to monitor. And here's a filter that's because I find web traffic more interesting than, say, ARP packets or something like that, which means just it looks for HTTP traffic essentially. And then it writes that to log. And you have to imagine, I was sort of, yeah, okay, this is not going to work, tip, 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 tip. And then poof, you know, you get something like this. And this was, and you get a lot of it actually. So I have millions of these lines now, and they're interesting. So what you can see here is we have a timestamp, okay. We have a MAC address, an IP address, and a port number. That MAC address is somebody's phone or laptop or whatever. And the IP address is the address that this device has been talking to in the big evil internet. And then you have a port number. And that's pretty much what you can get from this wonderful script that I just showed you. And I have, from previous experience, heard that nobody takes you serious if you don't have a GUI. So I made one. I'm going to show it to you, actually. Because we have... So there it is. It was broken this morning. I fixed it again. Let me make this a bit bigger, maybe. Yeah, there we go. So this is the GUI, what you have. It's black, of course, because of the hacker tools, you see. What can you see here? I actually go into it, and this is actually live. So if now a train should be, maybe we'll get lucky, let's check. Let's see, this is a live position map of all the trains, trams, buses, and everything in the country. Zoomed in this case. Unfortunately, there's no train coming here. Or maybe there is, let's see. Nijmegen. That is the right direction, actually. No, it's still at the train station. No, not really working. Okay, we'll check back later. But essentially, what you can see here is a live update view on these 2 antennas. So we'll check it back later in a minute. Let me just go back to my slides. This is great. Now I don't know where my mouse is. Ah, yeah. Okay. So what you have here, this is what we see from one single device. On top, we have the MAC address. And just because I'm nice, I blanked out some bits because, you know, you don't really want to tell the world where some particular MAC address was. So we have heard too much about this. Of course, you know the vendor. In this case, it's an Apple device because the MAC address has a prefix which is given to a vendor. So you know this is an Apple device. We know which train it is. That's so cool because I can actually put people in a train because we have these live GPS positions of all the trains. And obviously, I know where I am. So, you know, not so complicated. We have from the IP addresses, we do a reverse DNS lookup to find out who on earth these IP addresses belong to. In this case, we see somebody that is on Yahoo, talking to the iCloud and doing something with the Google Cloud as well. These icons, of course, are also just assigned based on which big company this belongs to. And because we have a cool database running behind all this, we have the entire history of people. So if you ever driven by Amsterdam Central with your phone, and you're using the Wi-Fi in the train, and if you like, we can check later. I have your bits. I would like to add that I am not actually, even though I get it from the air, I'm not actually storing any actual content. You know, so I don't really care what people are doing. But this is just of course, a metadata viewer. There is some data enrichment. I've said this. Yes, I've said this as well. And this is essentially the SQL query that computes the history. So this is, I mentioned this, but this is obviously how do you map this to the trains. And there is a live train timetable, and you can obviously get this. But it's not reliable enough. Obviously, if you do interpolation, let's say, between stations, you will never know where on the track the train now actually is. And at this point, I would like to make a big shout out to somebody named OpenOV, which is an organization which actually runs this map I've just shown you. And they have an API where they push out all these live GPS updates for all these public transport things to everyone. So if you want to, for example, I mean, if you're constantly annoyed that your train is not there, you can totally write a script that will sort of tell you how many meters it's away from you or something like that. You know, no problem. Just because I'd like to, this is for you in the corporate world, this is nothing new that there is such a thing as hideously complex XML documents, but the NS, of course, makes the most hideous of all XML documents. And this is essentially how this works. You have, and also, I mean, I'm not sure what the best practice is on putting local language identifiers in documents, but I think it's evil. So you have something called the dynamische Vertragsstaat. And apologies, yeah, I'm German. And there you have a train number. This you know because it's in the timetable. It tells you where the train is going. Great. This works with the 0MQ pub sub queue. That's not so complicated. And then you have the train location, which obviously also has the train number and a helpful longitude latitude thing. And this is actually not interpolated or anything. Every train has a GPS transmitter on it, and it will set this out. Obviously, you need two different complex XML streams to get the train and its position. Yeah, this is, I said, how do we find the trains? Well, yeah, we just correlate position and time. There is still a margin for error because you have many tracks, and two trains could be there at the same time, and then what I do. But actually, what I have done, and something that I'm going to continue with, is to correlate the MAC addresses of the access points in the trains with the actual train. So the trains have equipment numbers, and if I have the train equipment number, I know where it is going, and if I see the MAC address, I know that this is the train where, you know, this is, and they can't really do anything about it except randomize the MAC addresses. Also, a possible fix for me having some sort of slightly unclean data is to use multiple receivers. So as I said, you can build these things for cheap. If you are here near to the trains, if you put one on your roof, that would give me another data point. I have one in The Hague, which means that I now have 2 points where I get these things from. And of course, once you have collected all this stuff, you can do some analysis on it. This is just a simple frequency of the number of distinct devices seen per hour of day for all the days in the week. And you can say that, you can probably see that during the week there's not so much difference, except maybe that people really don't like to go to work on Monday. This being the Netherlands, we're not surprised. And on the weekends, it's all a bit smudged out. Something that I found interesting was how skewed the mobile device vendors were. If you look at this, you see, okay, Apple basically is everything. Then you have Samsung, which is second highest frequency, and the rest is essentially not relevant. That was surprising to me. I mean, I would have not expected that there would be such a difference there.
Those users are just smart enough to use it, and that's why.
I have my doubts, but that's a possibility. It could also be that the Samsung people have the better data plans, but I also doubt that. Something I did was, I found this quite funny, so I got like a weather archive, and just did a simple comparison between weather good, weather not good, how many devices do we see. And as you can see, if the weather is good, people stay the fuck at home. So I can recommend it. It's go with the flow. Okay. I did this, and I thought, well, this is actually not so cool that I can do this, because after all, this should not really be possible. So I would like to DNS to fix this at least partially. I mean, I don't know about you, but in your router at home, there's this little button, and that says encryption. And if you click it, nobody else can get in. Even I would have some problems getting in. But somehow they refuse to click the button. So I did contact them, and you cannot believe the amount of ignorance that a big organization can throw at people. And I did try. I mean, okay, so they have a Twitter account, yes? Obviously, these people, are used to deal with people complaining that their train isn't arriving, so they don't know how to deal with IT security. Fine. I sent them emails. Nothing. I actually got a LinkedIn Pro account, something I do hate, and searched for people that work at NS, because of course they have this in their LinkedIn page, and then contacted these people directly saying, you look like you do something in IT. Could you please, tell me what your reasoning behind this, or forward this? Nothing. Okay, so I did contact a journalist who I didn't know, but I know that he did a previous story on Wi-Fi security. I don't know if you've seen that. He did something about hijacking people's sessions in a cafe or something like that. And he was interested. It also was summer, not much any other news. And ta-da, was a wonderful newspaper article. I really like also the graphics that they made, Basically, this is me. And this was an interesting day, because then this happened. Basically, everybody saw that and copied it, because I thought, in my sort of naive ways, that nobody would care what this somehow obscure publication would write about. And this was an interesting day because the article went live at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was sort of then responding to angry people on Twitter. I have more on that later, for 2 hours. Then I went to work. They said, thank God you're here. 5 radio stations have called. They want to talk to you. So I did my first radio interview in Dutch, twice actually, on that day, and then at the afternoon the TV came over, which was really bizarre. I haven't experienced anything like it. And it's also quite weird. You do research for 10 years, no one cares. You write 4 lines of script. Wow. I haven't really understood this yet fully. Wonderful ethics challenge. So, as I said, I do not record any of the actual content of the communication, which I could because half the stuff is actually unencrypted. So if I wanted to, I could say, you know, look for post requests or something like that, which would be totally easy to do. But I said, no, we are not going to do this. I also would like to stay out of jail. I work for the government, not so cool. And yes, it limits my fun, but fine. So then the TV people said, hey, by the way, could you do that? Because then we can sort of make a better story about you getting people's credit card numbers. It will be juicier. And I said, okay, what part of principles don't you understand? Well, and then they said, okay, bye, we're not going to talk to you anymore. I mean, this was really, and I thought, you know, other people might have sort of budged at this point and said, okay, we'll do it. But this would exactly be the thing that gets you into really lots of trouble. Something I also want to share with you, because it was an interesting experience, was sort of the reaction of the internet. Lots of people said, yeah, this is cool, you know, it's fun, whatever. But equally, a lot of hatred. It was really, at the end of this day, I was thoroughly depressed. Especially, I got lots of hate from technical people who, of course, know how to do this, because I've never said that this is anything special. I mean, as I showed you, this is just a stupid script, and it's two 20 € receivers. And my theory is that, you know, they think, he got attention with something I could do, and I'm not getting any attention, so therefore I'm angry. Something in this sort of, order, if somebody is a psychologist and has a better idea, please let me know. But it's really, I have no idea where this is coming from, and it's, I think, something yes, we can be concerned about in a technical sort of community about this sort of behavior. Yeah, seriously, people. Yeah, so this is something I said, that you have the access points of the trains. And we can do some statistics. It's really simple. You know, while there might be two trains at the same time at the same place, it's unlikely that they do this every day because, yes, there are delays a lot. So you can sort of compute which MAC address belongs to which train. If you live next to train tracks and would like to host one of these receivers, let me know. So. Huh?
If you look outside.
Yeah, I know. I've seen this on the way.
Seriously, I hope it looks good train tracks in his office.
Aren't you doing like something with media? So maybe. What the question? People ask me this a lot. What can I do? Seriously, just don't use the Wi-Fi. I don't know why it's so popular. I've seen it. People have data plans and everything. They still, somehow because it's free, are crazy about using the Wi-Fi. I don't know. But seriously, just use 4G. I have no idea why we even still have this system, because it's really not necessary anymore. You can use VPN, but the wonderful people at the NS have sort of thought, well, this VPN, that's somehow hacker stuff, and we can't do traffic shaping on these packets anymore. So let's block it. So it's really hard to get a VPN out of the train, which is ridiculous. And as I said, stay away from open Wi-Fi. What could the NS do? Well, as I said, they could click the button, enable crypto. And my only idea why they're not doing this is because they are just afraid of some sort of support nightmare when people are not able to connect anymore because their shitty whatever device is not able to do, I don't know, VPA with with this authentication keys. And there's two options actually that I can see. One is you just give everybody the same password. That sounds like a bad idea, because you can simply just print it on the wall. Password is password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because WPA will actually generate a session key that is unique to you whenever you connect, right? So even if you do that, I cannot see immediately what is going on there. The problem is, of course, the authentication attack, so you can force Wi-Fi devices to de-authenticate and then capture the exchange when they reconnect, and that will allow you to, again, listen to it. However, this is an active attack. which means that it's way harder to pull off if you're sitting next to the train tracks, because the train does this and you have very limited time frame to do this. Option 2 is you give people accounts, similar to Ederom. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I mean, that works. Something I've seen actually in Denmark, which they did, is totally simple, and I was surprised that they can pull this off. They just have a secondary Wi-Fi network, which is only used to create an account, and then you can use that to go into the secure one, right? So there's like a network saying, register here or something like this, and then you do there, and then you make your account, and then you can connect to the other one. And the first one doesn't have internet, so that works as well. Probably it's just a support nightmare. I see how they don't know how to do this. However, if you think about it, I mean, NS is one of the biggest ISPs in this country, just from numbers, right? I mean, millions of people use their services. Probably there's many actual ISPs that have fewer customers. So if you think about it that way, you know, they should probably spend some time on this. This is something that I found so funny, because a couple of months later, this little thing appeared on this connect site, which says, let op de beveiliging van dataverkeer tegen onbevoegde kennisneming. And then if you click it, you get this, which basically says there's some idiots sitting around that will actually listen to whatever you do in our network. So, I mean, it was less than I hoped for, but at least they did react after all. So that's what I wanted to show you today. There's some links. There's the code to my 4-line script. And there's the link to the live thing. Actually, let me just see. Oh, I'm sorry. I will put it up again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and okay. So here we have the. Let's just look once more for whether we get lucky with a train. There is one here, Maastricht. Here we get you. There we are. No, that's the Lelystad one, but we still got it. This was live. We just got this. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Great talk. Any questions to Hannes?
Yeah, where's your API?
Where's the API? Was the question?
Behind that thing, if you like.
We could do some direct marketing based on some advertising.
Yeah, you can.
So some brilliant ideas are born this evening, because already someone in the audience was saying, now I also need an ad blocker for my television after the first talk we had.
That's true, you should. But this is something. What you can, of course, do is you can raise the response, right? So somebody goes to a website, and if you send a response faster than the server on the internet, which you will because you're sitting next to it, you can actually override the response and put your advertisement in there. Just a tip.
Instead of all the advertising from Google, ingest our advertising.
Yeah, whatever. So
Sounds
it might
great.
not be legal, but I'm just saying. Yeah. Any other questions?
The same concept could be used to attract people in retail stores.
Yeah, and they do that. Well, I think if you connect to the Albert Heijn Wi-Fi, I think you probably do not deserve better, but
if you're not even connecting.
yes, you can. What they do in many cases, I have of course done a lot of work also with GSM. That's perfectly enough to track people, because you have a transmitter that is moving around in the store and constantly blowing out packets to the GSM of 3G network. In GSM, you can get a temporary identifier directly, yes. If you want the actual IME, you have to again crack the encryption, which nowadays is something like 5 minutes. And we have cloud now. So.
If you want to track someone across, because this is a temporary code, you want to track someone to the system.
This is not temporary.
Now the MAC address.
That is a persistent code. That is something that every Wi-Fi in the world will see if you connect to it. Wait a second. Yeah, I mean they do this with this tracking in stores. It's I heard from my marketing friends that this is the latest in sort of customer blah blah. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter anything that. And this is also something that I noticed when doing this, because basically I have the people in range for like 2 seconds. right? I mean, they sit in the train, they go whoosh, and even though I have good receivers, you have a very limited time span of them being in range. Two things. First of all, you don't actually receive the packet that your phone sends. You get the response from the router in the train, which has a lot more power. And second, these phones are incredibly noisy. So if you just take Wireshark and you see just the traffic that your phone is pumping out constantly, it's ridiculous. And it's, for example, you have the Facebook app, which is, and since these things are constantly submitting stuff, transmitting stuff, I can easily detect them. Yeah.
Are there more guys like you?
Certainly.
In other countries?
Well, let me say I would be very surprised if not. I mean, if there wouldn't be anyone that did this. I mean, it's totally straightforward, and
But there's no group yet? Or
no, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing that the ad people are doing would be to let's say pay hotel, public place Wi-Fi to hand over the MAC logs, because then you can just track people super easy. And I mean, already you have these Wi-Fis that are financed by like this page on Facebook, then you get free Wi-Fi. I don't know if you've seen that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they already are sharing this information. With the train, I think it's particularly funny because I don't have to do anything. I don't have to move. The entire country is simply brought to me, you know.
although you're living on a boat.
Yes.
Next to a military complex, which is also a
Yeah. You know, sometimes I
Can
wave
you track the
antennas at
Wi-Fi
them.
from that side, whereas now the
Actually, at the moment they have the
EU
Eurotop.
Summit? Yeah.
They have the Eurotop, and I'm trolling them a little bit. But next talk about this.
But that's probably why they made the NS made it in Dutch to obfuscate some of the to make it slightly harder.
Are you using MongoDB on the back end?
Yeah.
What kind of data volumes are you looking at?
Not much. I mean, of course, no problem for MongoDB. Anything else would have issues. No. This is MongoDB in the backend simply because dog food. You know, I have to eat my own dog food, obviously. But it's not that much. I think I've collected a couple of gigabytes by now, and mostly because I'm throwing away all the payloads, right? Because, for example, you have where is it? Normally you have one always, but normally there's Spotify somewhere in there. But basically, Spotify transfers the music unencrypted, of course, which, yeah. And then you have these huge blobs of MP3s that, yes, I could save to my disk, but there's easier ways of downloading music, I think. So I'm not doing that, and therefore this small amount of data.
Final question.
Why are you only listening to the web ports?
Just because I think it's more interesting. I mean, if I just wanted to get MAC addresses, I of course would listen to anything. But if yeah, I have found some interesting websites that way. Actually, just looking at this, thinking, oh, this looks interesting. But yeah, I mean, almost everything that goes to the outside is web. Of course, you could actually something interesting is email. That because email is a wonderful protocol because it's completely unprotected, especially SMTP against a encryption attack. You can, if the people send an email, you can force them to send their password in the clear, essentially. So this would also be an interesting attack because basically you get somebody's login for the email account, you know, free, essentially. So I didn't do that. As I said, I don't want to do this kind of stuff. For me, it was just a fun project, obviously.
Okay. Well, another round of applause for Jannes. Thank you very much. And I just got word from the New Relic guys that they already left for the airport.
Oh.
Well, they'll be back another time. So the most important takeaways for today: journalists are evil. Nokia and Microsoft are irrelevant.
Pointless.
And MongoDB is really used in production.
Yeah, but a lot. Yeah. lots of people use it.
In the context of them being irrelevant, there's a use random hardware address in Wi-Fi settings.
Way! Microsoft is the most secure platform there is.
Most secure and most irrelevant.
Only used by the security department. Okay, so that was it then for this SaKE. The next SaKE is in April. We don't know the exact date yet. Do we know it's here or is it in Finland? Okay, so next one will be in Finland if we get approval to fly there. And if you have any talks you want to present on the next Dutch edition, or if you want have permission to come to Finland and present there, let us know. A round of applause for Jelmer for doing most of the organization. The video streaming and I think everything else. For Marion, Anton and Jelmer for organizing the food, the drinks and the presenter gifts. So thank you and good night.